Chelsea, again, they are not playing around. Not only are they taking that Club World Cup seriously and racking up the P's along the way, they're signing players. They are signing players. Joao Pedro through the door, 50 million. Jamie Gittins, here we go, confirmed. They ain't playing around. And I know a lot of people are cussing Chelsea, saying how with them it's always how are they doing this? They're stockpiling players. They're not this, they're not that. It's a disgrace. Listen, the semantics of everything and the finance side of it, of how they're doing it, I get it. They're for separate videos, they're separate issues. But in terms of some of the players that they're actually signing on top of what they got, listen, I think we need to talk about Chelsea a bit differently. I'll be honest. I think they're coming. They ain't playing about. Maresca's not playing about. Joao Pedro, regardless of the fee or whatever, which I think is a decent fee, he's a very good player and something that Chelsea don't have in their profile of strikers. He really, really is something different. I think he's a very, very good signing, Joao Pedro. I've always liked Joao Pedro. And I want to talk about, it just got me thinking, because obviously when Chelsea are doing their business, rightly so, listen, the neutrals, us neutral, we're like, how on earth are they doing? These men are selling hotels. They've got players on long contracts. They're just stockpiling all these youngsters. Maybe some Chelsea fans can't even really like have that connection to the club anymore because such a high turnover of players. There've been a high turnover of managers over the last 3 years. It's been a very difficult time to be a Chelsea fan. Now, as a neutral, or if I'm being a little bit more biased, I'll be like, don't really have much sympathy. You've had your success. Roman was giving you everything, this, that, and the other. But as a fan, it still must have been hard to go through the transition that they've been going through. Going to games and you just can't feel attached to the team. Been doing that at United as well. But I think we have to look at it bigger than that with Chelsea. Because a lot of the times when they sign these players, and I've learned, you know what it is? I've learned my lesson from last year. I have learnt my lesson on how to discuss Chelsea or how to look at their transfer dealings from last summer when Enzo Maresca got there. Because when they had all of them players and it was there's not enough space in the changing room, there's got to be porter cabins because the squad's too big, and how are they doing this? Look at them now, and rare. It's a disgrace, all of that. You quickly learn like what Enzo Maresca was saying last year. He goes, you guys keep talking about these 50 players or 40 players or whatever it was at the time. I can't remember the exact number, but said number of players. I'm working with this, I think it was 24, or I'm working with this 22 or something in my sessions. The other ones, they're starting, I don't see them. They're nothing to do with me. And listen, there's two sides to this. There's one side of like the human side of it. Like, is it healthy to have players on these long ass contracts? If they want to get out, are they going to get priced out of moves, etc., etc.? Does that work? The competition, is it too much? Or you can look at it from the amortization side of things, when it's easier to put players on decent wages over 7 years because you can spread out the costs and the wages are relatively lower compared to how big the players actually are, and go from there. And then what they do is a high turnover of selling players. Like Chelsea do this all the time. Half of the players that they've come in that you've never heard of have left already. Do you know what I'm saying? For commanding good fees as well, big fees. You know, so look what they did with Ian Matson. Look what they did with what's his name, Renato Vega. Do you know what I'm saying? That's just two off the top of my head. Look what they did with Trevor Chalobah, even though they treated him bad. Look what they did with Conor Gallagher. Sorry, made sure they sold him. The treatment isn't always nice, but in a pure business format, it's clearly working for them because they're able to keep getting this high turnover of players. But back to Joao Pedro and actually how we can help the team. He's a very, very good player. Not a high volume scorer, not a high volume shot taker, but the best parts of his game are link up. The best parts of his game, if you look at his metrics, you look at his numbers, you look at what he excels in versus what he doesn't. He excels in build-up play, dropping off of the front, connecting midfield to attack. That is what Joao Pedro is, even though he's a striker. Now, obviously, you pivot to the Firmino thing and be like, look, see, he could be that. But you look at Jackson and you look at Delap, and they will more stretch teams with runs in behind. Hold-up play is decent, but nowhere near as good as Joao Pedro. He excels in this. And if you look at, third man runs from Cucurella always arriving in the box late as well. You got high-flying wingers. You just got Jamie Gittins. You got Madueke, you got Neto, so you got dribblers. Now you've got runners, you've got a lot of runners, and now it's about Enzo Maresca having somebody who can connect those dots and give him a different option. And maybe Jackson might leave. I don't know. But I think Joao Pedro is a very good bit of business. And the way that Chelsea have just swooped in there and got that done very quickly, which is very Chelsea-like, to be fair, with some deals. We've seen them do it. They did it with Kienda. You know what I mean? Thought Man United was going to get him, and they went, nope, we're going to get him. They do it. They do it a lot. You know, sometimes they don't get the player they want because they stall and procrastinate, but that's because I think they don't really want that player. When Chelsea really want someone, they usually tend to get them. Not all the time, but recently. I think it's really good business. Especially, you know, you look at Newcastle with however many failed bids, couldn't get it done. Bang, Chelsea just come for them, come for Joao Pedro. And it's a top signing. I think he's a quality player. And him linking up with the runners that Chelsea have, I think it could be kind of scary, you know, because and also I think he lays on chances for a lot of others, and that takes the burden off of Cole Palmer to have to do that. Obviously, Cole Palmer's chief creator, the whole team, in my opinion, should be somewhat based around him. That he's that good. But if I'm honest, it's about options, and I've seen at United, different context but same principle. I've seen at United what happens when you have to rely on one player to do everything creatively. In Bruno Fernandes. It tires them out. It can hurt the team in terms of there's no other way to do something. It has to be that one player. That one player can become frustrated as well when they've just got the whole burden, the whole load of the team on their back. So when they start having, you know, stinkers or difficult games, it's heightened. Look, Cole Palmer went through it this season as well. Last season, should I say? There's a period when he hadn't scored for quite a while. It's getting in his head a little bit. His performances weren't there. Because he was chief creator, Chelsea were really, really feeling it. It wasn't really someone else you could pass the baton to and say, "Get us through this, you do it." And I think Joao Pedro is someone who can do that, man. He can play as a 10, he can play as a false 9, he can play as a 9. He does spend time drifting out into wide areas to facilitate, but he's a very clever player, neat, crisp touch on him. I think that's a good signing. So, and I think if you look at, you know, the strength in midfield with Enzo Fernandez, who over the years I haven't really rated. I still think he's a bit overrated, but he's still a good player. Caicedo is a general. Lavia, if he can stay fit, you know, and of course Cole Palmer in the 10. You look at Madueke, who again I wasn't his biggest fan, but I think he's improved a lot. Neto is improving. You add in Jamie Gittins now. You've added Liam Delap, good striker, young project striker, and now you've added Joao Pedro. Yeah, tasty. Got to watch out for Chelsea next year, you know. Be interesting to see how they do in the Champions League as well. Young team, they're ready to kick on to the next level. So let's see how it goes, man. But I don't know. I kind of low key respect what they're doing with that signing. I think that's a good signing. Listen, how they're affording to do it, and whether it will come back to bite them in the backside, again, I'll probably have to do separate videos about talking about that. But just the signing of Joao Pedro alone to add to what they have, can't fault it. I think it's a great signing. Anyway, peeps, I'm out of here. Smash the like on the Football Flex. Thanks for rocking with us, man. I'm out of here.